Hi everyone. Alright, so this video I will show you how to use the NetBeans after you install. In the previous video, I'm sharing to you how to install the NetBeans. So now this is the first time user as using the NetBeans. First of all, you need to open the NetBeans. Okay, consider as open the NetBeans and create the project. So you need to create the project. Go down for a while. Make sure you have a JDK first, okay, before we have a NetBeans over here. So this is the interface of the NetBeans. Okay, first we need to create the project. You go to the file. Okay, it's a new project. Okay, file, new project, or you can using the shortcut key through keyboard. You need to wait for a while and the project will be created for you. And next thing, you need to write the project name. Project name is not that sensitive. You can rename anything without a space or using a symbol, anything. But it's for the class name, you need to avoid the symbol. You need to avoid the white space. Okay, so example over here, I create the project name as a first project. So it's a first project. You need to wait for a while. They will creating the project for you. Okay. So I'm choosing the package which is a Java with the Marvin. Okay, and the project under Java applications, you go to the next. Okay, project name here, they are giving you the default one, which is a Marvin Project 6 or any name as a default. Then it's up to you whether you want to remain with that project or you want to change the project name. So for example, I change to the first project in Java. And just press finish. So you need to wait for a while. Okay. All right. So this is a project name. You go to the project directory over here. Okay. Since I already have a lot of the project, so you can see there is a lot of the project will be appears in the directory. So it's for you because this is the first time. So maybe you have only one project. So this is a project name. Okay. When you expand the project, you will see the soft package. Okay. So after that, you go that into that project and right click, okay, new, then you have a Java class. So this is the way how actually we want to create the Java file. So I repeat again, you click the project name, which is just now I'm reading it as a first project in the Java. Okay, go that to that project folder. Okay, you will have a sub folder, which is a soft package. Okay, next one, right click, new, and it's a Java class. So Java class is a sensitive one, and then it will be follow your file name. Okay, so whatever the names from your class name will be reflect to your Java file. Okay, so for example here, I put it as a the area rectangle. There is a simple one lah. Okay, we want to calculate the area rectangle. Okay, so please avoid the space, white space, and also the number, then the symbol. So please avoid all these things. Okay, keep it without the space, or you can use a uppercase, okay, capital caps, or it's up to you lah. So, but must be avoided white space. You can click finish. And you can see over here, there is a given you in the workspace. Okay, working space over here is a area rectangle.java, which is the Java file that we are working right now. Okay, line number 1 until line number 4. Okay, the one is from packages. It's a default by Marvin. So you cannot change, you cannot delete, you cannot edit anything. And your one will be slightly different from mine lah, because they will call from your local host. All right. So number 5, this is a packages. This is a come from your project name. Okay, so keep it this, because this is all the file will be stored. So in undercom dot my company dot project file in Java. So later, if you want to copy the soft code, then you can go to this particular directory. Okay, line number 7 until line number 10. Okay, that one is your computer name. It's slightly will be different lah, because my computer name as a Nurani, so they will appear here. Okay, it's based on your computer name. If your computer name as a user, then they will name as a user. So the gray color here usually is a comment. Comment in Java we call as a reference for us as a user or as a programmer. Okay, this is like a dictionary for us to do what the next step. Okay, like kind of the algorithms. So you can put anything for your reminder or for your reference. Okay, so for example, over here, I put a question name. So our case study, we just want to calculate, just simple, because this is the first project in the Java, to calculate area rectangle by a rectangle. Okay, for W, okay, I assign directly over here is a number. So for the width is a 3, and for the height or length is equals to 5. Sample. Okay, so our aim is actually we want to calculate the area rectangle by the input are given, which is a width equal to 3 and the length equal to 4, to the 5. Okay, what the first thing you need to do, which is create the class name. So class name. How to create the class name? Using the NetBeans, they already given you. It's automatically will write for you over here once you create the class name. Okay, so it's a public class and area rectangle. So area rectangle is actually your Java file name. Okay, it's like I said in the previous class, okay, which is everything the names as a project name or as a Java file, they will reflect to the name of your Java code. Okay, so after that, the second one, you need to create the main method. So the main methods, we start with the public, static, void, main. In the bracket is a string argument. So argument, we have 3 types of the argument in the Java. One is a process, second one is an input, and the third one is an output. So this is required as an argument. All right, argument is the same with a statement. So what the purpose you create the main method over here is actually to manipulate all the inputs are given in order to do the process and to produce the output. Okay, so open the curly braces. Okay, so next, after you declare the main method, then we need to declare variable. So how to declare the variable? Variable should be have a data type. So you need to identify first what the data types will be do or use for that particular input. So now we have a 2 input, which is W and L. So you look at from the questions are given, W is equal to 3. So 3 is actually number. So automatically your W will store in the numerical data type. But numerical data type, they have a 2, whether it's a single number or whole number or decimal point. Okay, so number 3 we consider as a whole number or single number. So automatically we use a int. So int, your variable name we declare as a W, we present as a width. Okay, since we already have a value, so you just equal over here, assign the value equal to 3. Okay, so this is the first input. Repeat for the second input. It's the same thing since it's a whole number. So we keep it int. So the variable name is L equals to 5. Okay. So then for the inputs, next we need to declare their output. So outputs can be anything represent the area of a rectangle. So since our inputs is an integer or whole number, automatically your output will be integer. So we declare integer. So I put it here is an area rectangle. Okay, so that one is the declarations of the variable. Variable will be two things. One is your input will be used, okay, to process the output. Okay, so declarations must be input and output. So once done, supposedly next step you will assign the input. Since inputs is already given here, is already assigned in the declaration. So we skip input. Okay, we skip input process. So we go to the next to calculate area rectangle. Calculate area rectangle. So the formula here, area rectangle equals to W multiplied by 12. So done. Then last step, okay, after we process, then we display the output. So over here is the display output. So to display the output, we are using syntax system.out.println. Okay, in the bracket, so the area of rectangle, okay, that is, okay, to call the functions from the process, you need to use a plus. So plus the name of output, which is a area rectangle. So I just copy and I paste over here. Okay, so done to display the output. So after you display the output, it's done. We have a declarations. We skip the input since we already assigned the number. Then we go with the process. Process is your formula over here, which is a line 20 to 23. The next one, we are display the output. So all the sequence process in the structured programming is done. Next, okay, you need to end the main method. Terminate the process. Then after that, you terminate the main class. So you press Control S, or you can go to the file, save your file, and go back to the project, and you see the area rectangle. You click, right click, and you can see Run File, or you can use the keyboard shortcut, which is a Shift F6. Okay, press this one. Your compiler will checking line by line of your code to check whether we have a syntax error, runtime error. Yeah, runtime error and syntax error. So this is most important thing lah that we check. Okay, if you deal with the error, they will show you which line, what the error. Okay, so you just go that line. For example, I remove a semicolon over here. Then I try to run to see. Okay, so when I run, you can see from the compiler status, it will given you a message that is a common execution is a fail. So the compiler said there is got some value is missing. Then if you go to up a bit, then you can check from which line and what kind of missing value. So over here is an expected missing the semicolon. So you go to line 20, you add the semicolon. So rerun again, save, and then run again. So your compiler will checking line by line to check whether got the runtime error or the logic error or the syntax error. So if you get the message like a build success, so which means that there is no issue with the code, is smooth to display the output. So you go to up the bit, then you can see the area rectangle is 50. So you can see from the outputs are given is there is no space between the word is and your result. So why? Because you have no space over here. So I try to put a space between is and semicolon. So I just press save again and I run again to see the result. So you can see the differences between um, without the line, without the space, and with the space. Okay, so I scroll up a bit. Then you can see this is a result from the Marvin argument, the area rectangle. Okay, the area rectangle is, okay, that one is come from us. Our own statements are given. Okay, in the green color, usually this is what the statement come from us. It is a user or it's a programmer. Okay, and the function here is actually based on the formula are given in the line 20 and 23. So you can see it's a 15. Why 15? Because your input here is a 3 multiplied by L. L, the value are given is a 5. So 3 times 5, what 15. That's why you get the result over here. It's a 15. Okay, so this is actually a simple process how to write Java program. Okay, so I repeat again just to recap. First of all, we need to have a main class. Okay, so main class. Second one is a main method. Every time you want to start write coding in Java, so this is just two important things that you need to write first. Class name and main method. It's always same. It's always default and it will be every time must be right. Okay, after that, we declare the variable. Okay, variable is depends on the case study. So you need to understand the problem. First, identify what the input and what their output will display. Then you can set up the variable name. Okay, so after variable, usually we are dealing with the input. So you need to ask the user to key in input. There is have a syntax to call the input. So later I will show to you lah. Okay, next one, after you gain the input from the user, you need to process the input. So how to process the input? We need a formula. So you need to have a formula. So after formula, manipulate the formula over here. And the last one, we always display the output. So output is always come from the result that is used the formula. All right. So lastly, you have a terminations of the main method. You need to close. Before this, you have open and then you need to close. Then after that, you have a closing for the main class. Okay, so if you are using the scanner, which is one method to use for getting input from the user, then you need to close the scanner too. Okay, so this is roughly what supposedly you need to write in the first Java program. Perhaps you got the idea, okay, how the Java look like and how to compile and what is the difference between run, okay, interpreter, compiler, and running the program. All right. So see you in the next video.